I have voted Republican, you know. Yeah. I vote for the man. I don't vote for the party.
Well, so what are your thoughts on the election?
What are my thoughts on what?
On the election.
Ain't much to think about it.
Well, who are you going to vote for?
The right person.
Well, who you think the right person
I'm
is?
going to be Donald Trump.
Okay, tell me why.
Last time you saw him talking, did you watch his lips?
Uh-huh.
Were they moving?
Uh-huh.
He's lying.
All right, well, so Mr. Wilson here was telling us that January 6th was a big disqualifier for him.
Well, it should have been.
How do you feel about that?
I feel about it like he's anti-American. He's trying to overthrow our government.
And so are you thinking about voting for Harris?
Yeah, I have to.
That right there was in deep red Georgia, where Republican voters are saying they're voting for Kamala Harris. And specifically, they cite Donald Trump trying to lead an insurrection against the United States of America, as well as the fact that Donald Trump lies about everything. We'll see if that is a trend that starts to be talked about. We've been talking about it here for 3.5 years on the MeidasTouch network. So are the Republican voters against Trump organization, and lots of new voices also coming forward right before Election Day saying that they were two-time Trump voters or voted for him before, and they're just not doing it again. And they provide some compelling justifications and reasons why they're now supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. For example, let's play this clip right here.
I do not want a man like Trump as the head of our country who is so divisive, who is trying to pit us against each other. My name is Llewellyn. I'm from North Carolina. I'm a Republican. I am a former Trump voter, but will not be voting for him again. I am a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. And so when I think about the future of my children and the America that I want them to live in, I do not want a man like Trump as the head of our country who is so divisive, who is trying to pit us against each other. I don't like someone that mocks persons with disabilities. I worked my whole life with children and adults with disabilities, and they're not people to make fun of. I do not like Trump's disrespect for women. Trump shows a lack of respect for the military, for our POWs, and for those who gave their all for our country. At least Harris is more positive. She's more inclusive. She doesn't go around talking nasty about people, talking down to people. I think she's trying to bring us together as a country again and not tear us apart, which I just think about my younger granddaughters that are 7 and 10. And I just want to have a country that will be safe for them.
By the way, here's a Wisconsin voter on CNN also who talks about how gravely disappointed she is in Donald Trump. Play this clip.
I will never vote for a convicted felon for president of the United States.
Conservative Mark Gagnon says instead of Trump, he's picking the Harris-Walz ticket.
I voted for him the first time he ran. I was gravely disappointed. I think we need younger people. I mean, what's an 80-year-old person know what a 30-year-old family needs?
I want you to meet Cullen, a former Trump voter from Georgia. Take a listen.
You don't have to be a Democrat to vote for Kamala this time. You just have to be an American. My name's Cullen. I am a former Republican from the great state of Georgia. I voted for Trump twice, both in 2016 and 2020. I've been a Republican pretty much my whole life. I thought there were suspicious things about the 2020 election, but even if you believed it was stolen or not, inciting a mob to attack the U.S. Capitol is not the way to handle these. A lot of the stuff that's built up when it's come to Trump and how he's acted post January 6th, it kind of opened my eyes. First of all, he's never once intentionally, there's been accidental times where he's admitted it, said that he lost, which is insane. You go to the Supreme Court and various other courts 60 times, and they don't even think you have enough evidence to listen. And these are judges that you've appointed. It's insanity to me that we're still trying to spread this myth, and they're probably going to do it again. He's going to try to to go after political enemies, going to try to use the Insurrection Act to go after people who are protesting him. I think he'd be focused on revenge. It's a simple one-word thing that he's been repeating over and over. I am voting for Kamala Harris because I believe that there will still be a fair election in 2028 if she wins. I can't promise that if Donald Trump wins. I know there's a lot of Trump supporters out there who are like me, voted for him twice. It's okay to leave. It's okay to put country over party, and I get it. I've been used to looking to an R for who I should vote for every single time I go in there. But you don't have to. You don't have to be a Democrat to vote for Kamala this time. You just have to be an American.
Also, here is Chris, an ex-Trump voter as well. Listen to what Chris has to say. Let's play it.
Trump, we're talking about darkness. We're talking about the past. We're talking about retribution. I'm Chris from Ohio. I'm a former Trump voter, and in 2024, I will be voting for Kamala Harris. When I watched January 6th happen on my TV, I was sick to my stomach, and they ransacked that building. There is absolutely no question that Donald Trump was responsible for inciting what appeared to be not only an insurrection, but a riot. It's unfathomable to me that a convicted felon could be the nominee of a major party. Trump's not a young man. He's the oldest person to ever run for president. Vance is no better than Trump. He's got the same line rhetoric down. He knows the deal. He would be the worst person that we could have beyond Trump. J.D. Vance is second in line, and that should scare the hell out of every American. There's such a stark contrast between what a second Trump term would be and a first Harris-Walz term would be. Trump, we're talking about darkness. We're talking about the past. We're talking about retribution. But with the Harris-Walz administration, we're talking about the future. We're talking about lifting people up. We're talking about an opportunity economy.
Or how about this North Carolina Republican voter who used to vote for Donald Trump? Let's play it.
This is the most important election of our lifetime.
Scott Peoples is a self-described conservative, but he says he's made a point of voting early in North Carolina and casting his ballot for Democrat Kamala Harris.
Have just been turned away by what the party's become under Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, and kind of feel like our values haven't changed at all. It's the party's values that have changed.
Or how about Dale, a former Trump voter who's now supporting Kamala Harris?
I do blame Donald Trump for the violence that happened on January 6th. My name is Dale. I live in Ohio, and I'm a former Trump voter. Donald Trump is so disrespectful to people who have served our country. The disrespect to John McCain, the disrespect to soldiers who gave their lives, who are buried at Arlington Cemetery. It's just so frustrating and disheartening. I do blame Donald Trump for the violence that happened on January 6th. The bottom line is he got everybody fired up. He knew that there were people that had weapons because he said, ditch the magnetometers. He realized violence could very well happen and sat and watched it for several hours on TV. Trump has called for termination of the Constitution. I think it was December 4th, 2022, said that a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. How can we have a president like that? I plan on voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. The more I listen to her, I think Kamala Harris speaks very well. I think she has a good knowledge of what the issues are. We may not agree on solutions to the issues, but she seems like she can work people.
Or how about Damien, an ex-Trump voter who says, dude, Trump's a gangster. Well, why would I want as the leader of the United States of America someone who behaves like a mobster, like a gangster, someone who's a felon? Listen to Damien, everybody. Let's play it.
I will be voting for Kamala Harris in 2024 in the name of freedom and choice for every American. My name is Damien. I'm from Michigan. I voted for Trump in 2016. I'll be voting for Harris in 2024. Donald Trump gives a lot of reasons to not want to vote for him in 2024. I really don't appreciate the way he talks about veterans. Comparing the Presidential Medal of Freedom to the Medal of Honor is not the same in any way, shape, or form. He is not a type of person that looks like he wants to lead for the nation. He wants to lead for himself. January 6th was a day where he did try to take over the country. There was fake electors in, I think, 5 different states, to include the state that I live in, Michigan. I do not want to follow a gangster leader that thinks he knows everything when he generally doesn't. If you're on the fence between voting for Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, Just look at how they act. Look at the words they're saying. When Vice President Harris speaks, she speaks positively. She speaks of plans that she has to make the world better. She wants to create an opportunity economy. She wants to bring the nation together instead of dividing us and exporting 10,000 possible Americans. When Trump comes around, you listen to him. He talks about how everything is rigged, how he's consistently losing because other people aren't doing their job. I will be voting for Kamala Harris in 2024 in the name of freedom and choice for every American.
And here is Dwight. Dwight is a former Trump voter who just says, look, January 6th was the last straw for me.
My other concern is that he's going to cozy up to the dictators more. My name is Dwight, and I'm from Michigan, and I'm a former Trump voter. From my perspective, he started interfering with the states' rights to hold the vote and was asking them to disregard what was done and find additional votes for him. And I think this just speaks volumes about Donald Trump's character. He will do anything that he can to keep his power. I believe in a second term that Donald Trump will probably try and distance himself farther from our NATO allies. He treated them pretty poorly. And my other concern is that he's going to cozy up to the dictators more. I will vote for Harris in November.
On the other hand, you have Vice President Kamala Harris reaching out and saying that she will be a leader for all Americans. Listen to this.
Do you believe that female voters, women, will make the difference in this election?
I believe all Americans are going to make the difference. And I intend to be a president for all Americans. I am working to earn the vote of all Americans, regardless of their gender, race, or geographic location. Because, listen, I think part of the issue at play right now is we need leadership in this country that recognizes the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. I think this is part of the reason that so many people are voting for me who may have formerly voted for my opponent, because they're just exhausted with the approach that's about trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. People are exhausted with demeaning who we are as a country. They want a leader who has a sense of optimism and a work ethic on behalf of them to actually seek solutions, common ground, and get things done.
What does it say about...
Now contrast that to what Donald Trump said earlier this morning, where Donald Trump would not even tell the reporters how he voted on the amendment in Florida that would codify Roe v. Wade. He refuses to answer. He says, don't ask me that question. Here, play the clip.
To call a winner. They should. And they should call a winner, yes. Just stop talking about that. Go ahead.
And then let me show you this. Here's another voter right here who says, after January 6th, I can never vote for Trump again. He tried to have an insurrection against our country. He led an insurrection against our country. Let's play it.
We cannot leave a country to our kids and our grandkids where the lawful results of an election are overturned. And that's why I cannot vote for Trump again. My name is Jeff, and I voted for Trump in 2020 because I was worried about the extremity and the dangers of progressive ideology. After January 6th, I could never vote for Trump again. I do not want to leave a country to my kids and my grandkids where the peaceful transition of power doesn't matter. And whatever else you think about the lead up to that day, the reality is that when that attack began, Trump could have at any moment decided to tell his supporters they had gone too far, that violence was not the answer. Instead, he did nothing except inflame the crowd. He encouraged a direct attack on our capital, and that makes him unfit as a president of the United States. I can't vote for him again because I can't leave a country to my kids and my grandkids where a president gets to try to overturn the results of a lawfully decided election. The reality is that Trump's own Justice Department said these claims were bogus. There was no foundation. The court system unanimously or near unanimously decided that there was no basis for these claims, including many Trump judges and conservative judges. State recounts show that there was no basis for this idea of a rigged election. And when given the opportunity to provide evidence that there was this widespread, massive voter fraud, nothing has occurred. We cannot leave a country to our kids and our grandkids where the lawful results of an election are overturned. And that's why I cannot vote for Trump again.
I want you to listen to this. He's been so great. Anthony Scaramucci, my close friend, the Mooch. Here he went on CNBC and listen to the case he makes for Kamala Harris. Play it.
Do you think that you are affirmatively voting for the vice president, or do you think that you are voting against former President Trump, who was, of course, your former employer?
Well, listen, I think the former president is a disaster, and I disagree with Vivek respectfully. He's not a uniter. He's an incredible divider. Just the way he talks about non-white immigrants in the United States with the language that people used in the 1930s in Germany is an example of the division. So certainly wouldn't vote for him, but I am voting for her because what Vivek's leaving out is the stock market's at an all-time high. We have great economic growth. The unemployment numbers are around 4%, and the economy's doing quite well after COVID. Vivek's mentioning the inflation. We probably don't have enough time on television, but I'm not a political candidate. I actually understand that the inflation was secular and that you can't personalize it. You can't personalize it onto Donald Trump when he sent trillions of dollars into the economy to try to protect people during COVID, and you can't personalize it onto the vice president or the president. Moreover, if you're judging the inflation, we did better than the rest of the world, and our economy recovered faster than the rest of the world. When Vivek's talking about the unrealized capital gains, he's trying to drop a bomb on your viewers, and I understand why he's doing that. But then I could drop another bomb where President Trump is talking about eliminating the independence of the Federal Reserve, and then I could spend 5 minutes on the catastrophic consequences of that. You know, we have the most liquid, deepest capital markets in the world. And if Trump wants to make this like Turkey, that would be an unmitigated disaster. So we both know that's not going to happen. And we know that the unrealized capital gains talk is also not going to happen. But what could happen under Donald Trump is that he deports people. He's talking about deporting 15 million people. It's probably not possible, but a 1.8 million deportation would cost the taxpayers $88 billion, would crush our GDP, and would crush our tax revenue. So let's talk about the realistic things that are going to happen. That's something that's very realistic that the president talks about all the time, and so does his people.
And here is Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign manager. Let's listen to what she has to say about today so far.
Morning, guys. It's election day. So we are so happy for today, and we're feeling really good about what we're seeing. We felt very good as we closed out this election, closed out early voting. But as you know, we have a lot of work to do today. People in this country are voting already. We're very confident they're going to continue to vote. We're confident that the votes are all going to be counted, and we are excited to see our organization. We are excited to see the response that people have had, such a strong response, especially in this closing window of time for the vice president. I was so proud to see what the team put on last night across the country, but to hear from the vice president, you know, the American people, we know they're looking for an optimistic leader who wants to bring people together, wants to be a president for all Americans. And that's really what this country is responding to. And we're seeing that in all the metrics we're looking at. But we know that this is going to be a close election. We know that everyone will be counted, but we're going to make sure we are around as long as that takes. And we are in a big work day today, and we're going to keep making sure we're giving everyone the information so that they can turn out.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Make sure you voted. Make sure you reach out to everybody right now. Tell them to vote. Still time to vote. There's still time to be the difference. So tell me in the comments below if you have a story like this yourself in your life, whether it's you or someone you know, or if you've convinced a former Trump voter to vote for democracy for any of those reasons or other reasons. Thank you so much, and let's get out and vote, folks.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.